Syracuse loses on the road at Virginia 72-59. You're listening to Echoes from the Dome, Episode 5. Welcome in, you're listening to Echoes from the Dome, Episode 5, as we recap Syracuse's 72-59 loss in Charlottesville against the Virginia Cavaliers. We also take a deeper dive into Kiyan getting 0 minutes against the Cavaliers, and we will begin to preview Syracuse's next couple matchups against California and SMU. Welcome in on this Sunday. Happy Super Bowl Sunday to all who celebrate, even if you're not a Seahawks or Patriots fan. Hope you enjoyed tonight's game with friends and family and some good food. But first off, we got to get to Syracuse's loss to Virginia. And another loss for the Orange, where not necessarily surprising. I think a lot of us expected Syracuse to lose this game, very much like we did the UNC game. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this, because I want to get right into this recap, and then I want to get into what everyone is really talking about more so than the game, is Kiyan logging 0 minutes in yesterday's contest. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the game. You know, I thought Syracuse actually held their own, at least for the first 30-35 minutes of this game. I didn't think Syracuse was that bad. I thought they started the game okay, kind of let it get away from them there. It got out to double digits. Syracuse brought it back with a couple of runs, even tied the game at one point in that first half. It was only a 3-point deficit at 38-35 at halftime. So overall, I thought Syracuse was holding their own against what is a really good Virginia team, a much improved Virginia basketball team under head coach Ron Odom. Second half, Virginia hit some very difficult shots, especially late in the shot clock. Syracuse is playing good defense. But as the game goes on, it feels like Syracuse begins to fizzle out offensively. Only 24 points in that second half compared to 35 in the first. Again, this is another reoccurring theme for the Orange, where they do not compete and play at a high level for 40 minutes in a game. We might see it for a half, we might see it for 30 minutes, but we will not see it for a full 40 minutes. Before I get into anything else, let me just break down some of the stats. Nathan George had one of his better offensive performances here. 19 points on 8 for 9 shooting. He was 8 for 8 for a majority of that game and lost his perfect shooting percentage with a late shot after 3 offensive rebounds that the Orange secured late in that game and were unable to score with. 5 turnovers, still not great, but this is something that we've kind of become used to with Nathan George, is you're going to get scoring, you're going to get assists, but you're going to get a lot of turnovers in the mix as well. Nate Kings, I thought, had a really good second half. He finished with 13. Didn't shoot the ball well from the outside, but again, I've said this before, that Nate Kings is a guy that does not necessarily need to be a catch-and-shoot guy. He can create offense off the bounce, and multiple times in that second half, driving to his left, was able to get to the rim. He finished on 5 of 11 shooting from the field. J.J. Starling had a really good first half, not a great second half. He also finished with 13 points on 6 for 14 shooting. That was much better in the first half, and then really struggled in that second half to find offense. The biggest problem was Donnie Freeman. In 33 minutes, only had 5 points, was 2 of 11 from the field. Was not a good day for Donnie Freeman. Now, I felt like Virginia frustrated Donnie Freeman early on. You could tell that Virginia was going to put a lot of pressure on him, was going to be physical with him, and Donnie Freeman had to deal with that very early on in the game. But as the game progressed, they continued to push Donnie out. The more you push Donnie out, the less of a threat he is. And they made life difficult on Donnie Freeman. Now, I thought that they were extra physical with Donnie, and I personally thought the refs let a lot more go with Donnie than they did other players. Because there was a lot of fouls, particularly in that first half, that were not called in the second half. So I believe that Virginia was a lot more physical with Donnie Freeman, and the refs kind of just let it go. Now, the biggest problem that I had with this game, though, and it really was not the starting five, little to no bench production. And we look at the bench numbers. Virginia, 29 points off the bench to Syracuse's 7. Now, unless your starters are all in double figures, which they were not, you're probably not going to win that game with that comparison in bench numbers. This is really concerning. 15 points for Virginia in the second half off the bench, and only 2 for Syracuse. I'm not even really sure who. It must have been It was Ibrahim Suarez dunk off the lob from Nathan George that was the 2 points in that second half. I remember now. But anyways, you're not going to win games with little to no bench production. And I'm going to get into Kiyan Anthony later in this episode and talk about that. Syracuse was careless with the ball. Virginia had more points off of turnovers. Virginia created more second chance opportunities, a 10-point margin there at 17-7. Points in the paint very even, actually exactly even at 30 each. Free throws, Syracuse shot well from the free throw line, only missed 1. Syracuse only shot 11 three-pointers, were 3 for 11. Another big stat, offensive rebounds. I talked about offensive rebounds a couple weeks ago when this team lost to NC State. Is they were giving up way too many offensive rebounds. And it's obvious when you're giving up way too many offensive rebounds. And when you're playing a good team like Virginia, or you're playing a good team like NC State a couple weeks ago, they are going to score off second and third chance opportunities. And guess what? Virginia scored off second and third choice opportunities. They had 17 second chance points off 17 offensive rebounds. So, and the margin, it was tight in the first half, 12-4 in the second half. Just inexcusable. It's inexcusable from any team to allow 12 offensive rebounds in a half. I think in a game it's inexcusable. But in a half alone, 12 offensive rebounds against a team like Virginia, you're going to lose the game 10 out of 10 times. 10 out of 10 times. Now this is pretty staggering too. Syracuse was actually leading the total rebound numbers at the half, 14-13. Obviously, Virginia wins it 25-14. 25-14, Virginia wins the rebound battle in the second half, and they win it overall 38-28. Again, it's just you're not going to win basketball games against these high-level opponents such as Virginia, such as North Carolina, such as North Carolina State, when you can't rebound the basketball on the defensive end. I don't care who you are, you're not going to win. That goes for any team. That doesn't just go for us. That doesn't just go for Syracuse. I mean, it could be Duke. It could be North Carolina. If they give up double-digit offensive rebounds in a half, they're probably going to lose. 9 out of 10 times. But when you're Syracuse and you don't have the kind of players that some of these other teams have, then you're going to lose every single time that you give up those kind of numbers. But Syracuse, they somehow found a way to hang around. I know the final score is a little bit deceiving. 72-59, a 13-point loss. To me, I think that's a little deceiving. Because Syracuse was in this thing. for a good majority of it. Like I said, they didn't start the game particularly well. They got down double digits. But every time that Syracuse would get it to that 4 to 5 point range, Virginia had a play. They would make a jumper, get an offensive rebound, feed it to the post, whatever. And Syracuse just really never could find enough to get over the hump and make this a one-score game or even take the lead. Syracuse had this thing down. They had this thing down to 4 points with 5 to go. And from there on, Syracuse was only able to score 2 more points in the final 5 minutes. Again, we know the offense. We've said it before. It's too much ISO. You play any decent team with a defense, just decent level, which Virginia's not decent level, but they're good. You're going to struggle offensively. When you're just out there 5 guys and you're treating it like 5v5, your man versus your man, 1v1, AAU style, you're going to struggle to break down a team like Virginia. And no, this is not the same Virginia defense that we saw with Tony Bennett, but it's still a legit, talented Virginia team with a good defense. And I'm just going through the sequence now, late in the game, under 4 minutes. Syracuse is able to get 3 offensive rebounds and can't score. That just, you finally are able to get some offensive rebounds of your own. You have to score. And that's pretty much when I knew Syracuse was out of the game. They allowed 3 offensive rebounds, or we got 3 offensive rebounds, didn't score. Virginia goes on the other end and 1 layup. It was seemingly over after that. You could see heads drop. You could see visible frustration. Under 3 minutes, down 8, it felt like it would take a lot of momentum to swing for Syracuse to win, and it did not. So that's my recap of the game. Like I said, I'm trying to keep the recaps more brief. I know when I first started this podcast, some of these recaps would be 15, 20 minutes long. I'm trying to keep that at a minimum because I do want to talk about other stuff. And I want to get to other stuff more so about this team, more so about the decisions that are made by coaches. And boy, do we have some decisions made by coaches to talk about today. Red Autry decides not to play Kiyan Anthony any. Didn't even touch the floor yesterday. 0 minutes logged for freshman Kiyan Anthony. Now, that shocks me. And I'll tell you why it shocks me. It's not because it's just Melo's kid. It's not because Kiyan Anthony is a high 4-star. He should play every game. No. Syracuse had 7 bench points. Let me remind you, Syracuse had 7 bench points. Now, Kiyan Anthony has had his struggles, his ups and downs in conference play. He's looked really good, and then he's looked really bad, which is perfectly okay for a freshman. He's not his dad. He was never going to be his dad. His dad is the greatest freshman in the history of college basketball. He was never going to be that. We knew that. And anybody that thought differently, shame on you for having those expectations. But Kiyan Anthony should have played in this game yesterday. And Red Autry can go in the press conference all he wants, and he can say, well, it was my decision, nothing personal, no narratives to it, no underlying injury, nothing. I made the choice not to play him against a physical team. I don't care how physical Virginia is. I agree, they are a physical team. I saw what they did to Donnie Freeman yesterday. They were a good physical basketball team. That is no excuse for a 4-star freshman who has came in the game and has shown an intent to score the basketball. Now, sometimes it's better than other games, and like I said, that's part of a freshman dip. But we see a guy who always has the intent to score the basketball off the bench. I've always found Kiyan Anthony a very nice spark plug off the bench. Even if he's not shooting the ball well, at least, hey, I'm fine with a guy getting a few good looks. If you're able to shoot it, and you are willing to shoot it for an offense that struggles as much as Syracuse, and you come off the bench, I'm fine with it. I just cannot find it justifiable for Kiyan Anthony not to play yesterday. And you play Bryce Zephyr, who I mean, no offense to Bryce at all, but I haven't saw Bryce Zephyr play in a game in a few weeks. He played 9 minutes yesterday. Now, if you don't want to play Kiyan Anthony that much, give him those 9 minutes. Give him 5-6 minutes to show something. But when you have a game that you are struggling so much in offensively, you're having 0 bench production. I mean, I'm talking 7 bench points. 7. And 5 of it was in the first half. They only scored off a lob late in the game. They got them the 2 points in the second half. And I'm not saying Kiyan Anthony off the bench is going to give you 15 points in 10 minutes or whatever. I think he has that ability, but I'm not saying that that's a guarantee. But we do know one thing about Kiyan Anthony is he can get to the rim, he can create contact, and he can get to the foul line. That's a big thing about Kiyan Anthony. He's willing to do that. He's willing to make plays with the basketball in his hands. And I just look at the bench production, and I'm like, how in the world do you not give him just a little time? I'm not saying Syracuse wins this game if you give Kiyan Anthony a chance, but my goodness, they might be able to hang around a bit better. There might be a couple more plays in it that it comes down to the wire if Kiyan Anthony puts together 4 or 6 points off the bench. Sometimes that's all you need off the bench, is you need a guy to go to the rim, get fouled, go to the foul line, maybe hit a jumper, whatever. Sometimes that's just a spark that you need off the bench. And I just don't understand, like, what are we trying new? We're 13-10, 13-11 now. Okay, this season is over. I'm sorry to be that way, but this season is long gone. It's over. This team was going to have to win the ACC tournament to make the NCAA tournament. That's how far gone this season is. Okay? And they have to still make the ACC tournament. I keep saying that over and over again, and I'm going to keep saying it. Because this schedule is absolutely brutal coming up. So that's how far gone this season is. So why in the world would you not play a freshman who can give you a spark off the bench? It amazes me. Now, here's the big question. Was this personal or was this really game management by Red Autry? If you don't know, if you don't follow Syracuse and you're just listening to the podcast, during the game Monday night, Carmelo Anthony, the father of Kiyan Anthony, tweeted something. Didn't tweet something. He commented it under an Instagram post that Syracuse made. It said, SMFH. Shaking my bleeping head. I'm not going to say it on the pod because I don't know who's listening. But you get it. You understand what it means. shaking my blank head. Now, I don't want to accuse Red Autry of anything. That's not my job. That's not what I want to come on here and do. But it makes you wonder. I mean, you have to give it some thought. That Red Autry saw that comment, and the very next game, Kiyan Anthony gets 0 minutes. Now, I pray to God. I pray to God that is not the reason that Kiyan Anthony played. I would rather Red Autry come up in front of the media and tell the truth and say, and be real when he is saying that Kiyan Anthony didn't play because of the physicality of Virginia. I pray to God that is the real reason that Kiyan Anthony did not play. The last thing that I want happening to this program is a kid not playing because his dad said something on social media and the head coach got offended by it. That is not the kind of drama, and not the kind of drama that this program can even afford right now. It looks bad on everybody. Now, I'm not saying that is the reason. I'm not saying that Red Autry got his feelings hurt and he decided, hey, you're going to comment something on social media? Okay, I'm not going to play your kid. Because come on, that sounds like little league, middle school, high school politics right there. I'm not going to play your kid because you made a smart comment towards me, or you made a smart comment towards the program, the team. Now, I'm not accusing Red Autry of that, but it makes you question it. Absolutely, it makes you question it. The timing of it is definitely odd. Because I feel like you could have made that statement against anybody. You could have made that statement against UNC. You could have said that against UNC. UNC's too physical. They're too good. Sorry, but a team that has a Caleb Wilson and a Vassar and a Trimble, yeah, they're too physical. Kiyan, you're not going to play this game. Now, Virginia's a very good basketball team. I said that. I'm not denying that. But to me, I think North Carolina's a better team than Virginia is. So I feel like that statement could have been made any time before Virginia, during what has been a pretty tough stretch recently. But the game after, Carmelo Anthony goes onto Instagram and says what he says. It's very brief, obviously. Kiyan Anthony doesn't play. Now, I don't want to make accusations. I don't want to accuse anybody. I just, for the listeners and for myself, I want to think about it, obviously, because it's unusual. And I'm not the only one that's thinking about this. I've seen it across all social media platforms. I'm not the only person that thinks this. But I had to talk about this. I had to get into this. There was no way I was not going to talk about this. You kidding me? How would I not talk about this? I mean, this is bigger than the game. This is bigger than the game. The kid that everyone knows about, the son of a first ballot Hall of Famer, a legend, one of the best players to ever come through the school. His son not playing because of physicality. The reason so being that it was just a physical team. Kiyan Anthony wasn't ready. But why? Even if you do believe that, even if you think the kid can't match the physicality, we had 7 bench points. 7. Against the number 18th ranked team in the country. You're never going to beat the 18th ranked team in the country with 7 bench points. You're not. And it's ridiculous that we have a kid who has the intent of scoring the basketball, of providing a spark that doesn't play. And whatever, you can make the argument too, well, Kiyan has a defensive problem. He doesn't guard very well in 1v1 situations. In man-to-man, he's not very good. And then if we have to go to a zone, that creates another rebounding problem. Whatever, you can make that argument. You can say that. You can say that that's the reason. But to me, the offense was what Syracuse was lacking, especially in that second half. They scored 35 points in the first half, and I'm like, that's not bad. They're only down 3. That's not bad. But 24 points total in the second half, 2 bench points in the second half. Why not? We know Nathan George had some foul trouble. He had 4 personal fouls. Why not, when Nathan George needs a rest or needs to sit on the bench for a few minutes because he's in foul trouble, put Kiyan Anthony in and see what happens? Again, Syracuse is not a bubble team. This is not a team that you have to, where they're walking on eggshells because you have to be careful in each game. And you have to stack up these wins, whatever. Obviously I'm not saying to quit because of that. But I'm saying that Syracuse, it's going to take an absolute miracle, and they're going to have to go on a run and win the ACC tournament to make the NCAA tournament. So why is Kiyan Anthony not playing in a game that I won't call it meaningless, but does not have much impact on your season? Because you know what you have to do anyways. You know you have to win the ACC tournament anyways. Doesn't matter what you do right now. So I'm going to close out that rant because I could talk about it for 30 more minutes, and I'm not sure that you guys want me to. But I still cannot believe that Kiyan Anthony got 0 minutes yesterday. That's what I'm going to leave it at. In a game with 7 bench points. If that is the reason because it was due to physicality, I'm just disappointed with the decision. And I'll have to live being disappointed with the decision. All right, Syracuse will move forward. They will play California, the Cal Golden Bears. The Golden Bears. Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time tip on ESPNU. Now, California, I was taking a look at Joe Lenardi's bracketology prior to the show, and this was the latest this was updated was Friday morning at 9 a.m. So Friday morning at 9 a.m., California was the first 4 out. They went and lost at home yesterday to Clemson, 20-ranked Clemson, 77-55. So if they're the first 4 out, you lose by 20 at home, they're still going to be out of the bubble. So this is a must-win for California. They absolutely cannot come to Syracuse and afford to lose. So I have the idea that California is going to want it a lot more than we do. They're going to have a lot more drive, a lot more motive to beat us. Because like I said, as of Friday morning, they were the very first team out. If they would have beat Clemson, they probably would have gone into the field. But they lose to Clemson, so you would imagine that California is still out of the tournament as of right now. Like I said, this won't be updated again until Tuesday. So California is playing for a tournament spot. They are in a much better position than Syracuse is. Syracuse is not even near the bubble. We've said what they have to do. California is right on the bubble, probably a little bit below it now after that loss yesterday. Clemson's not a bad loss, but that's a 20-point loss at home regardless of who you play. So California will not be in the NCAA tournament field as of right now, or at least going into the Syracuse game. So they have a lot to play for. We know that they're a hot and cold team. They have a couple really bad losses that I think is ultimately going to hurt them in the long run. Kansas State is a really bad one. Kansas State's having a really rough year with Jerome Tang. At Virginia Tech, not a terrible loss, but I think that's one. I think you have to beat Virginia Tech if you want to make the tournament. Losing to Duke, obviously we know Duke is not a bad loss. They did beat North Carolina. That's a really good win, a very good win now. Now that North Carolina started to turn it up a bit, that's a very good win to beat North Carolina. Beat Stanford on the road. That's a good win. That's a pretty good win. But then at Florida State, you lose at Florida State. So I think that California has two really bad losses, and I think they have a bad loss that they should have won at Virginia Tech. I don't think it's a really bad loss, but I think it's one that you have to win if you want to make the NCAA tournament. Lost to Louisville by 20 at home as well. I forgot about that. I kind of skimmed over that one. That's not a bad loss, though. 20-point loss at home, but it's not a bad loss resume-wise. But I look at this California schedule, and I could see California winning out. They play us on the road, then they go up to Boston, Chestnut Hill to play Boston College. Get Stanford at home. They've already beaten Stanford on the road. You play SMU at home. That will be a massive game. Massive game. For bubble reasons. Pitt at home, at Georgia Tech, and at Wake Forest. Now, there's not a lot of resume-boosting wins on there, and that could be Cal's problem at the end of the day, and I think that is why that game last night against Clemson was so massive for them. But they're going to come to Syracuse with more intent than we have. And it's going to be, I don't know what the crowd's going to be like. Syracuse has lost 6 of their last 7, no pun intended, sorry. Just stating the facts. But they're going to come in with a lot more motivation than we have. And I want to see this Syracuse team over these next 2 games. They've got Cal on Wednesday, and they got SMU on Saturday. SMU is currently, again, this was from Friday morning, the last time it was updated. They were a non-seed. So they're somewhat comfortably in. And then they won yesterday at Pitt, so yeah. So yeah, as a non-seed, won comfortably at Pitt yesterday. Yeah, SMU is comfortably in as of right now. I want to see Syracuse. I know what the stakes are for Syracuse. I know that they're not going to get to the NCAA tournament unless they get an automatic bid. I get that. But I still want them to come out at home, regardless of what the fans like, regardless of what attendance is like. I want to see them stick it to a Cal. I want to see them stick it to an SMU. And also, we can't forget who is coming home Wednesday. Or coming to his former home. Chris Bell. Chris Bell was here for 3 years. Played for Jim Boeheim. And then played for Red Autry for 2 years. Well, I was a big Chris Bell guy. I liked Chris Bell a lot. I thought he was a really good shooter. It just didn't work out. Things didn't work out the way I wanted them to. But overall, I like Chris Bell, and I wish him nothing but the best the rest of this season and coming back to the Dome on Wednesday. This is a big game for California, and I want to see Syracuse show up. Because you might not have a lot to play for, but I still want to see you compete. And I look at Syracuse's schedule, and I just don't see many more wins on it. But if you're able to beat a Cal, beat an SMU, maybe you start to, turn up a little bit. Maybe it starts to turn around a little bit for you. Now, California, led by Day-Day Ames. Justin Pippen also having a very good season, scoring and passing-wise. But we know that Day-Day Ames is the guy to watch out for California. 17 points per game. Really good player. Has been a really good player at California this season. I'm not sure where they would be without him. And then Justin Pippen, of course. Justin Pippen, 15 points per game with 4 assists. Only a sophomore, so he's having a really good season for them. So it's impressive to see. It's impressive to see this Cal team, because Cal was not a very good team last year. If you remember correctly, we went to went to Cal last season and beat them at their place, and we weren't very good last season. So it's impressive to see, even if California does not make the NCAA tournament, they've been a consistent bubble team this season, which to me is impressive. So Syracuse will welcome them in Wednesday, 7 o'clock tip, ESPNU, and then they will host SMU Saturday, 2 o'clock tip on the CW network. I'll get more into SMU probably after the podcast Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure when that will come, when the California recap will come. We might do Wednesday night. We might do Thursday afternoon. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out along the way. So I'll get more into SMU after the California game. But SMU is, as of right now, comfortably in the field. So right now, going into this week, the new outlook, it's a new week. The outlook is Syracuse will be welcoming 2 NCAA tournament hopefuls into the Dome. So I want to see some fight. I know there's not much left for Syracuse to win. They know what they have to do. I think everybody in the program knows what they have to do. And one thing, let's see Kiyan Anthony. Please, let's see Kiyan Anthony. Even if it's for a few minutes, let's see Kiyan Anthony on Wednesday. Please, let's see Kiyan Anthony. Just give him something. Just give him something. I'm going to go ahead and begin to wrap up the show here. I appreciate you guys for listening. Also, if you're new, I have created an Instagram page. I said that I was going to create one a couple episodes back. I've finally gotten around to doing that. Instagram page is just the exact name of the YouTube channel, Echoes from the Dome. I'm going to try to have a little fun with it. I'm going to be posting updates on there, maybe even have some live interactions with you guys. If you want me to go live, answer questions, maybe get a couple fans in the show, whatever. I'm going to try to have some fun with it. Just stay up there. I will post on there every time that a new episode is up on the YouTube channel. But obviously, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like this video, turn on post notifications, so even if you aren't following the Instagram page, you do know when I upload. We're going to keep this rolling, and we're going to try to stay as positive as possible. And maybe I'll have a few iconic rants for you guys along the way. But before you know it, we'll be talking about the offseason, recruiting, hopefully a new coach, surely a new coach, and we'll get right into it from there. So, hey, this season's been miserable, but there's not a ton left, so let's just ride it out. Again, thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the first few episodes of the pod. We'll be back, as of right now, I'm going to say Wednesday night. Don't hold me to that, but as of right now, we'll do Wednesday night after the California game for the California recap. Again, thank you guys for listening, and go Orange.